One of the biggest coordinator hires of the offseason was Ohio State hiring Jim Knowles as its defensive coordinator. Knowles spent the past 4 seasons leading Oklahoma State's defense. Earlier today, he was asked his thoughts on head coach Ryan Day, saying he wanted a top 10 defense this season.
What goes through my mind is that, I wish he would have said top 5, because that's what we expect, We talk about having a silver bullet defense, to mirror the traditions that have been around here. We're talking about, I tell the guys that means top 5, and that's what we're pressing. That's what we're pressing for. Really nothing goes through my mind other than it's great to be at the Ohio State because the expectations are high, and that's what I've always wanted.
All right, so last season, Ohio State ranked in the bottom 3 in the Big Ten in pass yards allowed, third down percentage, and red zone efficiency. The Buckeyes actually not only had the worst red zone efficiency in the conference, but ranked 123rd in the entire FBS. Joey, I'm going to start with you on this one. How confident are you in Ohio State's defense with Jim Knowles at the helm?
Pretty confident because they're a talented defense, and it'll be interesting to see how different this defense looks. Jim Knowles was very good in the Big 12. But defense in the Big 10 is a lot different. The schemes, the looks, the things you have to shut down in the Big 12 are different than in the Big 10 because it's more physical, it's more run-oriented for most of the teams. I know that Coach Jim Knowles, a KG veteran, is extremely excited that Ryan Day said top 10 because now he can use that to motivate this defense. That's the way these old coaches work. They look for this kind of stuff that you can put on your bulletin board in your defensive meeting room. Coach said he's looking for top 10, but we're better than that. We're going to be top 5. Ryan Day being an offensive coach, you take that to the practice field and you say, we're going to shut down Ryan Day's offense. Obviously, we know how talented they are. So he disrespected us by saying top 10. Let's go out there and show him that we can be top 5. This plays perfectly into Jim Knowles' hands, and it's great for a defense that didn't play well last year to get that confidence up, get motivated on days like a Tuesday, Wednesday when you got to go to practice and it's hot. This is the kind of stuff you love as a coach.
Yeah, I agree, Joey. I think it's the most important coordinator hire in the sport in the offseason that Ryan Day did in getting Coach Knowles. And I just look from a toughness standpoint of what he's going to come in and instill in these guys. Think about last year. They got manhandled against Oregon. They got manhandled against Michigan. They got manhandled in the first half against Utah. That is stuff where guys are on tape and Knowles comes in and says, what's going on here? They got a great chance to show what they have and show their improvement against a team in Notre Dame who's got a bunch of guys coming back on the offensive line to start the season. So we're going to know real quick how much tougher and how much more want to this Buckeye defense has.
The Buckeye defense was given that silver bullet nickname in 1996. That was before some of these guys were born. I know they were watching film of those guys. Speaking of giving them something to look at in bulletin board material, comparing their defenses, and I know they were talking about the fact that they were taking advantage of that nickname. Let's take a look at the Buckeyes schedule. So the coaches poll, like I said, has them at number 2. What do you think the biggest hurdle is for them this season, Joey?
I'm going to go with the first game, which I'm sure a lot of people have their eyes on that game. And I don't know that it'll be their toughest game of the season, but it's the most important game simply because what we just talked about with Jim Knowles coming in and a defense that didn't play well last year, this will be their first time out against a top 10 team to prove that they're a better defense than what we saw in the Rose Bowl when they gave up a ton of yards and a ton of points to Utah. So I'm going to go with that first game for their chance to prove that this defense is better.
I totally agree. I look at what Notre Dame brings to the table. New quarterback, a great offensive coordinator in Tommy Rees, and the best tight end in college football in Michael Mayer. So, like I said before, Ohio State has a chance to show us how much better they got. All eyes will be on the horseshoe that night, and I'm fired up to see it because we know what they're capable offensively. Now can the defense match what the offense have or just keep them around where they don't have to win every game in a shootout? That's all they got to be. They can't be worse than they were last year. So I expect a ton of improvement, and I know Jimmy Knowles has more talent in Columbus than he did at Oklahoma State. So I'm really fired up to see what they bring to the table as far as, the team as a whole.
And Steve, you mentioned toughness. Well, in that fourth game, you're going to get a chance to show just how tough you are. And that Wisconsin game, again, is that kind of game that you know is going to be physical. They're going to have a tough offensive line. They're going to want to run the ball at you. And so when you talk about Jim Knowles coming from the Big 12, where it is a 3-3 with a bunch of defensive backs kind of defense, that won't float against a Wisconsin type of team. If you want to show that you're tough, you're harder than you were last year, Wisconsin is a perfect test in that fourth game, September 24th.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.